Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, your beverage or drink of choice, cup of coffee, maybe a cup of tea. It's rainy outside. A glass of red wine. Don't forget the Kool-Aid for the kids. Call your mama and your papa, your grandmama and your grandpapa, your brothers and your sisters, your aunts and uncles, your nieces and nephews. Call your neighbors and your friends. Let them know that Simon Says is on. Buckle up. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's a kind of a rough one today. Of course, we have some updates and we hope to get to our continuation from 3 weeks ago. However, let's start with the update on the companies Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited and the Partners for Development Inc. So we start with Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited. The company that purchased 84 acres of lands, and according to Senti Daughter, on behalf of the government and people of Grenada. 16 million of the people's monies from the consolidated fund was used as deposit for the land, and the government bonds given to the company that sold the lands, and the company called, the vendor, Grenada Real Estate Corporation. The bonds was given to them as security for the monies owing, which is $20 million owing to the Grenada Real Estate Corporation, the balance. Now, we hear the Prime Minister out there in the diaspora telling the people that we paid up for the land and we didn't have to borrow money for the land. We paid cash, really, for the lands. That is not correct. That is a lie. A big one, too. Right? Now, so the bonds was given to them, to this company, as security for the $20 million owing. According to an unofficial statement made by the Attorney General, Senti Daughter, on her Facebook page, Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited purchased the lands on the behalf of the government and the people of Grenada. Now, research shows that the company, Grenada Asset Bank Limited, was not properly incorporated. They had no bylaws was filed and no annual returns was filed. According to the certificate of incorporation, the article of incorporation was incorporated under the Companies Act, Cap 58A of the continuous revised edition of the laws of Grenada. Now, according to the Companies Act, the incorporator must be a person. And let me say that again. According to the Companies Act, the incorporator must be a person. Part 2, incorporation of companies Section 4, incorporation, subsection 1, subject to subsection 2, one or more persons may incorporate a company by signing and sending articles of incorporation to the registrar, and the name of every incorporator shall, and shall in law means must, so shall be entered in the company's register of members as soon as may be after the company's registration. End of. However, Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited was incorporated by the Attorney General's Chambers, which is not a person and therefore couldn't sign or can't sign. The Attorney General Chambers cannot sign, right? Remember, according to the Companies Act, persons may incorporate a company by signing and sending articles of incorporation to the registrar, and the name of every incorporator shall be entered into the company's register of members as soon as may be after the company's registration. Right? So the Attorney General Chambers can't sign. Somebody in the chambers could, but not the chambers, right? The Act clearly states that it must be person or persons. The incorporation was sent to the registrar, who said nothing. No, that should have been sent to Attorney General Chambers to be rectified. Again, no accountability. To date, we've heard nothing from the government of Grenada officially concerning Grenada Asset Bank Company and why they purchased, why it was formed in the first place, why it had to purchase the lands, and why couldn't the government of Grenada purchase the lands, right? So we've seen some hanky pan there already. Research has shown, and we're doing more research, right, to get to the bottom of this asset bank, Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited, right? No accountability. Just so you guys know, I am seeking legal advice and legal help on this because I already know so much. I mean, I could read the articles and so on and pull out some of these things and do my research. But at the end of the day, we need to know that our monies were spent legally. And what was done is illegal. It's legal. Because this rush, according to the Prime Minister and Andrew St. Bernard, it's a rush to get it done. We're moving speedily ahead because they need to be able to at least have a foundation when they're on the campaign trail to say Project rush the groundbreaking. The Prime Minister said, imagine. And we need to know how much was spent because the Prime Minister said they did it early before they did all the testing and the geotest and all that they need to do before you break ground. Because he didn't want people to say it was an election gimmick. Anything now is an election gimmick. Anything, because we only have a year left. And all that's happening now is election gimmick. And so he told us there that it is an election gimmick. It is an election gimmick, right? So, as I said, I'm seeking legal advice on this, on the legitimacy of the Grenada Asset Bank Company Limited. I will keep you updated. I would keep you updated. Now to Partners for Development Incorporated. Well, this one, it's a web. It's a web. Directors, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Andrea St. Bernard. The company, 16th of 2012, 66794. Articles of incorporation of filed 20th of February 2012. Certificate of incorporation dated the 20th of February 2012. No bylaw was filed, and the last annual return was 2016. The incorporator was and signed by Faye Thompson, signed the 19th of February 2012 as director president. There is a notice of change of directors. This notice is given on the 1st of April, that Fool's Day, the 1st of April 2024. The following persons cease to hold office as directors. Jude A.J. Cameron in Brooklyn, New York. Estella Charles, Brooklyn, New York. Marvin A. Blaze, Brooklyn, New York. Kent Joseph, Grenada. Merle C.J. Bayer, Grenada. And Henry Joseph, Grenada. So Partners for Development, Inc. was a company formed by the Tillman Thomas led NDC. Now we have involved in the Tillman Thomas led NDC administration, and it was 2012. It was incorporated in 2012. Tillman Thomas NDC took office in 2008 to 2013. Now, notice is also given that 2024, the following persons were appointed to hold office as directors: Deacon A. Mitchell and Andrea St. Bernard, both of Grenada. They are the directors of the company as of the 1st of April 2024. Signed by Andrea St. Bernard on the 7th of August 2024, being a director. The Companies Act in 1994, Section 5 and 9, Articles of Incorporation, non-profit company. Non-profit company. Now, let me read, because it's important that I read for you the what entails this non-profit company. As the Prime Minister say, not-for-profit company. The Companies Act 1994, Section 5 and 329, Articles of Incorporation, non-profit company. The name of the company, Partners for Development, Inc. The company has no authorized share capital. Activities are to be carried out without pecuniary gain to its members, and any profit or other accretions to the assets of the company are to be used in furthering the undertaking of the company. Restrictions on the undertaking of the company may carry on. The company shall restrict its business to activities that are of a social development nature, community organizations, education, training, and fostering harmonious among communities will be paramount. The Grenada Poverty Assessment Survey report identifies St. Patrick's as the parish with the highest incidence of poverty in Grenada. That was in 2012. The company shall employ such measures that rebound to poverty alleviation and the transformation of the quality of life and the citizens, especially those of the parish of St. Patrick. The company shall endeavor to use an integrated approach to combating poverty, vocational and skills training, personal development, and organizational development shall be to the focus of the educational empowerment programs. A combination of daytime and evening classes shall be conducted targeting and unemployed in the parish of St. Patrick and other identified villages throughout the state of Grenada. This is all what the Partners for Development Inc. is supposed to be doing. The company shall recruit volunteers and paid professionals to serve as resource persons to facilitate and coordinate educational and training classes for the targeted residents in communities. Information communication classes shall be undertaken for secondary school students during the school vacation annually. Food security measures shall be introduced to communities and communities that have not been impacted by the government programs. Backyard gardening shall be promoted and targeted at large single-headed families with a view to self-sufficiency. The company shall assist poor residents with home improvement housing, housing construction, and home repairs, and using community work bridges formed by volunteers and supervised by skilled tradesmen. The company shall foster strong community organizations to assist in promoting and maintaining the community development initiatives and programs in the targeted communities. The company shall sponsor best village competitions throughout the parish of St. Patrick, aimed at fostering community pride through maintenance of clean, healthy community structures and facilities. The company shall also coordinate sporting activities throughout the parish. Folks, the non-profit community bought 3 acres of lands costing $1.5 million. Have they gone to St. Patrick's and do any of those things? Miss Andrea St. Bernard and Mr. Deacon A. Mitchell. Now, a non-profit organization pays no tax. By using a non-profit company, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Miss Andrea St. Bernard is avoiding tax, government tax. This is fraud, the forgery. Partners of Development, Inc., as far as my research shows, it's a fraudulent company. There are no record of on the file indicating that the past directors has anything to do with the new directors. And when I say, when I speak of it being fraudulent, I'm talking about now, not the company before, this one now, where the Prime Minister and Andrea St. Bernard, the Project Polaris sponsor, have taken over the directorship of this company, this non-profit company, and purchased 3 acres of land for $1.5 million. And they have nothing to do with trying to eliminate poverty in St. Patrick and all that's listed here that the non-profit then had plans to do. I don't think any of that was done anyway, right? So as I was saying, there are no records on the file indicating that the past directors have anything to do with the new directors. Also, the articles of incorporation, that the minimum amount of directors should be 3. But here we have only 2 directors, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Andrea St. Bernard. There is nothing to show there was a change in the articles of incorporation. Andrea St. Bernard signed the filed document and which says that they are the directors, and they both signed as directors on the mortgage. Remember the mortgage where they borrowed $1.5 million from the vendor, Grenada Real Estate Company. Remember that? That is something I am researching as well, because there is a feeling that all of that was just for our purpose, just in case we found that, right? And all indications is that that was a deed of gift to the Prime Minister. So that is being, I'm still there. I'm still researching that. So what have we here? On April the 1st, 2024, there was a notice of change of directors, which the lawyers, and they are both lawyers, Deacon Mitchell and Andrea St. Bernard, which they did. But there is no transfer of directors, which supposed to be approved by the Attorney General. Just nothing so in the documents. Nothing so. So what we're seeing here is that Partners for Development, Inc., with Andrea St. Bernard and Deacon A. Mitchell as directors, is a bogus company. A bogus so-called non-profit company. Remember all the fuss about faith? Could you believe that Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is here now caught up in some so-called non-profit organization or company, non-profit company, when nothing about it is non-profit. They are lawyers, because them to say, I'm a lawyer, and they feel that they can do anything and get away with it. And you know why? Because the Bar Association is mute. Well, the president is is the chairman of the transport board, so he's really appointed there by the prime minister. The prime minister is a minister for transportation. He's also on the CBI board, and you hear complaints from people who's looking to sue the government that they're being turned down by most lawyers. They can't find lawyers in Grenada, right? So we ain't supposed to see that. So they could do anything and get away with it, right? But not a chance. Not a chance. So guys, stay tuned. We have just started with these companies that this Deacon Mitchell-led administration is caught up in. And you know, Mr. Fimber Thomas, that guy that was inside Kaipo, one of the things when I did my investigation, I came across is that he was in there incorporating or forming companies, and one of the African companies as well. Something we have to look into. As a matter of fact, I have an update on Fimber Thomas, because remember, they removed him from Kaipo to so-called investigate. We've heard nothing. It was supposed to be for 6 months to begin. We heard nothing. The registrar had told me so, Mr. Robert Branch, and no, from Kaipo they had put him in the Ministry of the Blue Economy, and now he is in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So my guy has been promoted basically, and for the embezzlement of the government monies and the fraudulent act and the corruption that he was involved in inside Kaipo. But that's how it is. The young people figure they can do what they want because they get away with it. They get away with it all the time. Moving along, we come to the new model: finance, design, build, and maintain. So with the new model, Prime Minister has imported companies because, of course, Grenadian contractors don't have the money. He said it. He said it several times. You know, they can't afford it, right? And for them, it's all about money, and they can't get the money, so they can't work, and the drama, right? Lest you forget, here is the Prime Minister on his new model.
We are doing so under a design, build, and finance model. So what that means is almost all the contracts I've talked about before, the government has to find the money and pay the contractor in phases to do the work. For the new phases we are looking at here, the contractor has to be able to finance the construction himself or herself. And after the construction is completed, then we pay. And that is why it is called a finance, design, and build model. The contractor has to have the capacity to finance the works.
In other words, our government is crediting our roadworks, our bridges, our infrastructure jobs, our infrastructure works. They are crediting. And therefore, we the people are paying in as much as 3 times the monies we were supposed to pay if they use our local contractors and you pay as they go. But they don't have the money to pay as they go. They don't have it. It's obvious. They're owing most of the contractors, if not all of them. They're hiding it from us. We have no idea. They're owing persons, service providers, contractors. We have Grenadians, locals. We have no idea because they left it out of the 2026 estimates of revenue and expenditure, the budget. They left it out clean. And we have no clue what's going on there. Now, take the Willis project, for instance. The company Hanover had the contract to do the Willis Road project for $8.6 million. Hanover had already spent in excess of $3 million, close to $4 million on the job. They did 2 bridges, curb walls, driveways, walkways, retaining walls, sidewalks, heavy earthworks, surveying, etc. All of that was already done before the breakup between them and the government of Grenada. The government of Grenada still owing Hanover $25 million for works done already done in Grenada, and not just the Willis. They have roads that they finished, Lavery and other places throughout, and bridges that they had already done. Remember, they had a contract to do, I think it was 11 different projects, right? $25 million refused to pay the company. And this is invoices to pay invoices for work already done and services already done. Truckers, workmen, the bank, they borrowed money from the credit unions. They borrowed this 25 million is not for excess for the company. They are willing to give that up. All they need is a $25 million so that they could pay off their bills. The government of Grenada refused to pay them off, offers the company $7.5 million. $7.5 million. Of course, the company refused that, and they are now seeking legal assistance to get their monies. You might see on Facebook, I'm sure some of you would have seen, they lost another case for victimizing Mr. Byron Campbell on entering, victimizing him, and they lost that case. They have to pay him off as well. So they're doing well, but you know what? They don't care because the money doesn't come from their pockets. I mean, how can the Prime Minister turn a blind eye to what is going on in that Attorney General chambers? I mean, winning, there's so many, and maybe it's about 20 cases. Because I remember I lost count in about 12, and several after that, and more to come. More to Now, we turn around and credit that Willis job to Reno. At least what left of it, because remember, some of it already done. Well, you can say half of it already done. And the contract, excuse me, went from 8.6 million, that's what the contract was with Hanover, to $22 million. Extra 13,359,845.10. We have to pay Reno. But of course, we paying him interest and everything because we credit from him. We crediting the job because we don't have money to pay for it. But why are we crediting now? Because there's an election coming up. And for almost 4 years, 3.5 years, the government of Grenada had the country in a state of disrepair with our infrastructure, should I say, our infrastructure. And they couldn't fix it because they had no money. They're broke. They spent all the money. Revenues are dropping. And they can't afford to pay the contractors, the local contractors. So they come up with this scheme of finance, design, build, and maintain. If you can't pay sum, can you pay the lump sum? Where you getting it? But it's all trickery because we just have a year left, right? So this 13 million extra, 13 million, that Reno is getting is almost 300% increase. Cost to the taxpayers because our government is broke and they can't afford to upkeep the country's infrastructure. Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, Deacon Mitchell, he said he had to import contractors or contracting firms because our local contractors, they can't afford the new model. One of the companies imported is a company called Calco out of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, since sometime last year in 2025, I warned the government of Grenada when I got word from Trinidad that Calco is about to come to Grenada. And I did my research. It's there. You can Google it. You can go online and you can see. You've seen all the cases where they was charged in Trinidad for corruption and fraud. I brought that to you. And I brought it back again recently when it was clear that Calco and another one called Manalco, they were on their way to Grenada. The government refused to do their due diligence and probably don't care. I don't know. Calco was thrown out of Guyana. Thrown out of Guyana. Calco cannot receive jobs from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. If a private person wants to hire them, it's at their own risk. But the government of Grenada, of Trinidad and Tobago, I'm sorry, will not hire Calco to do business with them. The Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, ignoring my pronouncement, Calco was brought to Grenada. Only Calco do not have the monies to finance the job. And I'm sure, I'm certain that any one of our contractors who are accustomed to be doing roads and so for the government of Grenada, that what happened to Calco would not have happened to our contractors. If you look on the screen, you would see what is a copy of a check written by Calco, $198,950, a rubber check. It bounced. Now here is the managing director of the company, CCCCI, that received that check.
Come here, finance bill, and you cannot get a bank guarantee after several weeks of not signing the credit agreement, but collecting the material, asphalt and so forth, right? He then told us they have no asset in Grenada, they're not registered, so they could not sign a credit agreement. We then agreed that, okay, they'll get a bank guarantee. Past 30 days, 40 days, he could not get a bank guarantee. That's a red flag. You come here, finance bill, and you cannot get a bank guarantee. That's a red flag. So when you could not get the bank guarantee, we had to stop the credit, at which time he owed us hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And we said, okay, going forward, you have to pay. You have to pay us in advance. And Miss Calco, Mr. Andrews paid us a check of $198,000 several weeks ago. Up until now, we cannot cash it.
No, the bank's not going to guarantee nothing because the banks just do their due diligence. And this thing is not we just saying that. They were case and they lost and they were charged with fraud and corruption in Trinidad and Tobago, right there, just there. Just there. But you know what's funny? As I said, there are Grenadian contractors who could have gotten the job. But again, I don't know that the locals are willing to credit their work. The people have to eat. Their family have to eat. Now, lest we forget, we have 3.5 years of work piled up that the Minister of Infrastructure now announced to be done in the next year, right? Or the next 6 months, basically, because everything was supposed to wrap up by the second quarter in June, the second quarter of 2026, which is June 2026. So we're well on our way here. We're in June now as we speak. The Minister for Infrastructure announced to be done in his post-cabinet briefing, the first one after 3.5 years, right? No work done. He said they'll come to us on a need-to-know basis. Well, nothing was happening. So I guess there was no need to come to us, right? Here is Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, Deacon Mitchell, with the projects, all of which should have taken place within the last 3.5 years. Did not. But they're running out of time. They don't have the money, but they need to campaign on roads and bridges, right? And police stations and schools and health centers. And so they need to campaign on that. And I mean, you can't have a campaign with the kind of roads we had. Every other day, people, your tire busted, you shocks gone. The roads were so terrible. And we went through that for 3 years. And all of a sudden, when he realized he's running out of time, he have no money, he came up with a scheme of finance, design, build and maintain. And bring in foreigners here. They bring in their trucks, most of their workers. And Grenadians are just left watching, just watching what's going on. And I cannot understand how the contractors have not spoken out. They just sit down there taking their death like sheep. So here is Prime Minister and Minister of Infrastructure, Deacon Mitchell, as he explained the projects and their timelines. You might need to grab a pen and paper to write down as you go, because you would notice that almost all of what he spoke of has not been done. And the timeline for a lot of them has already passed. And most of them just have another 3 weeks or so, roughly 3 weeks before the end of it. Here's Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell.
An update now on some of the major projects that are ongoing, particularly in relation to roads and bridges, as well as buildings. It's important to emphasize that this is just a sample of the enormous work being undertaken by the Ministry of Infrastructure. So what I'm providing here is a non-exhaustive list. And for everything I say, there are significant others that have been left out. But we will undertake to provide monthly updates to the citizens and members of the media so that we can follow as we go along in 2026. The first update is the Cliff Road project. This project was originally designed by Beston Consulting as part of the larger Western Main Road project. Don't ask me how it was part of the Western Main Road since it's on the Eastern Main Road, but that is what we meant. The project seeks to rehabilitate a section of the Eastern Main Road linking, as you know, the Springs to Woodlands Junction to the Cliff to Woburn Junction. It's approximately 0.6 kilometers of road. The contract was awarded to CCCI, that's 4 C's and an I, and the supervising consultant is Safed Inc., whose principal is Timothy Bubb. The original contract sum was $16,541,362.60, and the estimated cost to complete the work, what is left, is around $7 million worth. Payments to both the contractor and the consultant as of the end of December 2025, based on approved valuations, are up to date. There are outstanding payments to landowners for acquisition of land, because obviously we had to widen the roads in some instances, and the roundabouts and the junctions. And so we will continue those discussions and negotiations with the landowners, and we hope to complete this by the end of the first quarter of 2026. Yes, the project progress has been unacceptably very slow due to a number of factors, most of which can be attributed to the contractor's slow pace of work, despite several attempts to help and several interventions by the ministry itself. We were promised an end of December 2025 a completion date to allow traffic to at least pass. That did not happen. There have been continued delays in the provision of the approved asphalt mix from the asphalt mix design from the contractor. We have to approve that design to make sure that it is, integrity-wise, it is solid and obviously can withstand the significant amount of vehicular traffic that we expect on the area. And the backfilling, because you would appreciate that there was significant excavation and retaining walls constructed. The compacting of that backfill had to be done in a very meticulous manner to ensure the integrity of the road. And that was, particularly in December, delayed by the rains. And so it has progressed slower than we would have wished. Notwithstanding that, the revised completion dates are that within the first quarter of 2026 and by the middle of next month, February, the road should be open for traffic, and then we should expect that by the end of March, most, if not all, of the construction work on the road should be complete. The Clogier retaining wall and road project. This project commenced in June of 2025, and again, it has been significantly delayed due to unforeseen ground conditions on site. As you may be aware, a major water issue developed on the site, and it led to a spectacular collapse of the road itself and the surrounding area, not just the road, but a large portion of the entire Clogier area, including where a house was located. So naturally, we had to stop the work and we had to redesign. We are in the final stages of having those designs completed. We were awaiting a topographical survey from a surveyor to be used as part of the designs. That has now been completed, and we expect the design works to be completed shortly. That project originally, the retaining wall, which was mostly what it was designed to have put in place, was budgeted at $249,171.01. However, due to the significant changes to the scope of the works caused by the collapsing of the road and the surrounding land, the revised estimate for the entire project is now $1.3 million plus dollars. And that includes additional retaining walls, storm drains, and the realignment of the roadway. We are hoping that we can commence the work by the middle of February and that we can complete it in May of 2026. I turn now to the Willis Road Rehabilitation Project. This was a sub-project under the Feeder Roads Project, which we inherited, which sought to upgrade 10 roads and bridges throughout Grenada. And this Feeder Roads Project was assigned to a construction company known as the Hanover Construction Company. We have sought, Hanover has since left the island. We have sought to recommence the project because we made the commitment to the citizens and residents in the Willis area that we would do everything to try and get the road completed, notwithstanding the challenges with Hanover. And so we approached 3 local contractors to do a joint venture to have the work completed. Unfortunately, the very week we were supposed to sign the contract, the main partner in that joint venture passed away and died. And so naturally, that has delayed the situation considerably. So we are making every effort to find ways to have this project recommence by the end of March of 2026. The Seamoon Cultural Center. This was a culture-based project that seeks to reconstruct the performance facility that was damaged since Hurricane Ivan. The new project comprises a main pavilion and a performance facility or the stage, and supporting features to create a modern venue for events. The contract is awarded to Kenny's Trucking and Equipment Services, and the supervising firm is Gleans Engineering. The project has faced some delays because we had to do some redesigning and re-engineering and subsequent contract amendments, all of which have been resolved. The works are ongoing, and we expect that by the end of the second quarter, of 2026, that is the end of May, end of June, for the Seamoon Cultural Center project to be completed. The Soters Coastal Protection Breakwater, and as I sat down, the MP for St. Patrick West was already on my case about this project. As you are aware, there's enormous coastal erosion taking place in Soters. And the Coastal Protection Project is meant to halt and we hope reverse the coast degradation that is taking place in Soters. The project is funded by the Caribbean Development Bank. The design consultants are Smith Warner International. They have already done the designs. They have also been contracted to supervise the construction work. 2 contractors have been pre-qualified as potential contractors to construct the work. They have submitted their bids. The bank is reviewing those bids. We will do everything to accelerate the review by the bank because this is a priority project for us because, as we've said, we've lost, if I'm not mistaken, as much as 50 meters of the coastline.
70 by now.
Right, I'm being told 70 by now. Meters of the coastline has been lost to the sea. And if we don't stop this, we may not have a Soters before we know it. So the environmental and social impact assessment has to be presented to the residents in the area. We will endeavor to do this shortly. We've already retained the project manager, and the social safeguards and monitoring and evaluation specialists have been identified, and contract negotiations are ongoing. I'm saying all of this to conclude that we are really hoping that by the start of the second quarter in 2026 that construction can commence. We are making this a priority project because I think it in a sense encapsulates the challenge small developing nations face from sea erosion, climate change, the significantly high cost of infrastructure to mitigate and to adapt to those issues. And we want to make sure that we can protect the citizens of Soters, protect their livelihoods, protect their properties from the ravages of the incoming sea. The St. John's River Road Project, or the St. John's River Project, more commonly known as the River Road Project. This was also a flood mitigation project geared towards solving the persistent issue of flooding along the River Road area between the Mongay Steels Automotive Green Bridge and the mouth to the St. John's River when you exit beyond the National Stadium. There have been 7 phases to the project. Phase 1 to 4, which is the river training works, that has been completed. Phase 5 and 6 involve the Humback Bridge and what is called the Steels Bridge, which takes you to the Steels Automobile company. We have not yet been able to address the two bridges because there's been several technical discussions back and forth about the appropriateness of the type of bridges and whether we need two as opposed to one. The ministry will provide an update on this in a month or so, as we will have to make a final decision as to whether we do both bridges or we do only one, and other technical questions as to whether the road will have to be lifted as a result of changes to the bridges. That having been said, the road itself is the 7th phase, and that is yet to be completed. I have given instructions for us to proceed with, in fact, the repairs and renovation to the roads and in the River Road area, and we expect this to commence in the first quarter of 2026. Of course, this is always subject to the availability of asphalt, because that's one of the main challenges we face on the island, and to having a competent contractor who can do the road renovation and reinstatement. Having said that, though, we also believe, and it's that the watershed management is important, because by the time the water gets to River Road, in the volumes and the velocity in which it comes, it is oftentimes too little, too late. So upstream watershed management is part of what we will have to work on together with the Ministry of Forestry to see how we can better address the volume of water that is getting into the river.
No, none of the deadlines, none of what the Prime Minister said there came through. That was all superficial, and to have us believe that things are happening, which is not. Which is not. Even though you have the new model, you still have to pay the people. So if they finish a project, you have to pay them. So I guess there's a hold up on some, a hold back. Now, the Cliff project, it's still not done. It's possible now, but there's a significant amount of work, a fair amount of work to be done still on that project. That project was supposed to be 8 months, take 8 months. We're running into 3 years and counting, right? Closure, work stopped since March 2025. A year and 2 months now. Nothing was done since then. We're into the rainy season and we know what happens in Closure with rain, right? Nothing happened. He's saying there that it's supposed to finish in May of 2026. We're in June of 2026 and it was not touched. As a matter of fact, the people complains that what's there, the point at where it is now, is very hazardous and dangerous. And with the rain, it gets worse whenever it rains. Nothing done. So all you're hearing is, oh, roads building everywhere, things happening on credit. The government is crediting our roads and bridges, our projects. So things happening on credit, and we're going to end up in trouble with it. Because whatever relationship you and Reno have, when you're ready for your money, you have to pay him. You think he going to sit down here and do it free for forever? No. So Closure, forget that, right? I spoke to you about the Willis Road. He said that's supposed to finish by the end of March 2026. Nothing so. March long gone. April, May, and we into June. Simoon, he said by the end of May or June. So we're going to give him a break there. We're still in June, right? But from what I saw recently, I saw the senator, or former senator, walking the project, not a word she didn't say, but just walking around the project as if it's hers. The project belonged to the people of Northeast. Minister or MP, sorry, MP Kate Lewis is responsible and for the project, and she must take the praise for it, right? So that is a no-no. The breakwater, no, it's a no-no. It's not net finishing, and the people of St. Patrick are complaining they lost the entire beach. They want to know if it could not have been done another way. I have a photo of it somewhere. I'll see if I find it, so I'll put it up. The boulders was placed on the beach. An entire beach they lost. No one can go and swim on that beach. And I got complaint from senior citizens who use it as a beach instead of going to the bathway or so their beach in the area there. So that's another abortion right there. The St. John's River, the River Road, where we know about that. Now you hear the Prime Minister talking about the bridge and the bridge and the bridge. He told us in Parliament that the two bridges were already in Grenada. He said when they came in office, the bridges what they saw in the plan, it was supposed to be concrete bridges. He said they couldn't afford the concrete bridges. It was too expensive. It was going to be too expensive. So they brought in metal bridges that just had to be bolted. I realized he just liked to bolt things to bolt up. So he said they brought in the two metal bridges and they were going to. Lo and behold, in Canada, in Montreal, sometime last week, the Prime Minister is telling the people in Montreal. As a matter of fact, he came before that. He told us that they wasn't sure if they were going to need both bridges or just one, right? In Montreal, the Prime Minister told the people that when somebody asked about what's going on with the project, because it's rainy season again, right? And the schools in the Queen's Park area and the stadium, they get flooded all the time. The children can't go to school. Parents have to carry them on their back. All sorts of stuff when it's rain in River Road. The Prime Minister said to the people in Montreal that they have to go back now to the concrete bridges because they were told that the metal bridge wouldn't work. Did you seek advice before you buy the concrete bridge, the metal bridges? Who gave you that advice as Minister for Infrastructure? Where is your engineers, your advisors? Mr. Rodney George, who poses as advisor to the Prime Minister in infrastructure. You all bought, you see the wastage? Just as the flyovers Andy bought for Grandad, for the South, the Great South. You bought two bridges. Now you're going back to the concrete bridges, right? So that we see, it was just to rile us up and to tell us, because you see, they were doing things and feeling us out to see if they can call the election. Polaris was one of it, but that fell flat on his back. And we ain't done with Polaris yet. Flat on its back. And the roads and this and everybody, they never see road smooth. So road on credit, road on credit. Let's continue.
New projects for 2026. Roads. We have four packages of new roads renovation and repairs that we intend to undertake in 2026, and these are major roads. We are doing so under a design, build, and finance model. So what that means is almost all the contracts I've talked about before, the government has to find the money and pay the contractor in phases to do the work. For the new phases we are looking at here, the contractor has to be able to finance the construction himself or herself. And after the construction is completed, then we pay. And that is why it is called a finance, design, and build model. The contractor has to have the capacity to finance the works. So package one will be from the Cliff Junction to the Morris Bishop International Airport, and then from the Cliff Junction to Westerhall Point in St. David. The second package will be the Mabuya landslip. That's on the main road to Gov. As you're aware, this has been like this for several decades now, where you are required to take a bypass through Mount Nesbitt and Mount Granby. We simply cannot have a situation where you can't use the main roads or the main arteries to get to where you're going in Grenada, and we've dealt with Molineux. We are now going to deal with the Mabuya landslip. so that you can get from St. George's to Wharf and to Victoria without having to take any detour. The next part of that package will be from the Tempe roundabout, or what is called the Deco gas station roundabout, to the junction with Mount Kuma. That is part of the finance design build model that we will seek to undertake. And then the third package will be from Old West Hall, right before the West Hall junction, back to the St. Paul's police station. So that will encompass Old West Hall and Mondelez areas. The fourth package would be from the Republic Bank roundabout, or what is traditionally called the Sugar Mill roundabout, back to Burns Point, which is to the entrance of the Carnage in St. George's. Now, these are just some of the main routes that we intend to tackle, commence tackling in 2026. We are hoping that once we complete the negotiations and the procurement process, that by the start of April, the start of Q2 2026, that construction will take place on these various projects. Of course, some of them are technically more challenging than others. So, for example, from the Morris Bishop Highway, what we are essentially doing with is obviously removing the asphalt, relaying it, ensuring that the lighting and the markings on the roads are up to date. Whereas if you go to Mabuya, for example, you are going to have to be doing with a lot more substantial excavation, construction of foundation, bridges, etc., leveling of the road, and that obviously would be more technical. If you are looking at Tempe to Mount Kuma, you are dealing with significant water, you are dealing with significant drainage and significant alignment of the road, because in some cases the homes are quite close to the road. So part and parcel of this is the planning of the work as well, because once you have major roadworks going on, you will have significant diversion, and we have to be able to have the cooperation of the public, the cooperation of the RGPF to make sure we can go about this with the least disruption possible to the citizens.
He could talkie, according to them Jamaican, he could talkie, yeah, and just pull wool over our eyes. Mabuya, we would like to know the cost of that contract, how much the contract was signed for with Reno. We have not heard that yet, and how long it will take. We need to hear that, because it's not just a rubber stamp, it's the people's money. And we need to know, I mean, when Reno done, we might not be able to pay. Well, some of us, we might have to sell some children to pay Reno, right? And it may not be you there. It would fall on the next government. Of course, government is a continuum, so they'd have to pay, right? Our taxpayers' money tripling and quadrupling. Yeah. Nevertheless, he said the projects would, by April 2026, folks, not one of these projects, of these road projects, have started yet. April long gone, and not one have started. Moving along.
Having said that, it's important to point out that there is ongoing projects that we are still significant and that we wish to highlight. So, for example, the Granitang area, as you're aware, we started widening many of the hairpin and sharp corners that we've had, and the road has been like that again for decades. This has been compounded obviously by the pipeline that is taking place for the Nawassa water projects, but we intend to continue with this once the pipeline is finished. The aim is to widen as much of the road and the narrow corners as possible, and to have better road alignment and widening. So that will be an ongoing project. Currently, we've done significant culverts and drains from Penmutter Junction to Vincent's. That is ongoing. We expect that the paving of the road, the entire road will be scraped and repaved, should begin in March. We are still dealing with a lot of the small walls, the sidewalks, and the gaps. And I want to emphasize this because particularly in the rural communities, we have a major challenge where people are building the gaps to their homes in the road. And so effectively you're driving on the road and you have to swing to the right to avoid running into someone's gap, because the construction has been done in a manner that people are actually putting the gap in the road. This is an issue together with the planning department we will have to address, because the road is public property and the gaps have to be designed and built in a way that allows the road to remain as wide as possible and for the gaps to actually begin on people's private property. So this is one of the issues which has actually slowed down the work in Penmutter Vincent's, because we now have to go and fix all of these small gaps to ensure that we can get two-way traffic as much as possible on the roads. We will continue with focused maintenance on the Eastern Main Road, the Western Main Road, and from the Grenville, tongue of Grenville to Tivoli Junction. Particularly for the tongue of Grenville, our plan is to repave the entire tongue, all of the roads in the tongue, to scrape off the asphalt and to redo the entire road. As you're aware, leading up to the last elections, there was some helter-skelter sidewalks being built all over Grenville, in our view, and not in a very strategic and well thought out manner. That has actually, in some instances, made things not better but worse. And so as a result, we think it prudent as well to address the road conditions there. We will also address from the Moritz Junction to the Seoul plant in St. George's Northwest, that portion of road. As you are aware, there's significant sinking on some parts of that road that is also becoming dangerous, and there's a lot of homes and businesses, if you're driving from St. George's to Mount Moritz on the left-hand side, that will be impacted. So we need to be proactive and address this issue as well. And we will continue, obviously, to upgrade and improve secondary roads.
Like the others, I believe some work was done in Pedmota to Vincent, in the Vincent's area. And that's it. That's it. Everything else is as more or less as it was. Some considerable patching took place in the St. David's area on the Eastern Main Road, but that's about it, right? Because of course he's trying to do St. David's so he can get back into it. He can actually win his seat. But the people ain't stupid. The people ain't dumb. And the wool thinning out. The wool start to thin out. They can see. But do your job, Prime Minister. You in the driver's seat. Your party, your administration. Forget about what you met and what the thing and helter-skelter, and forget that. It's 4 years now. Do your work. Do something. Do things that you can say, yeah, boy, they're doing. Do it. Just do the work. But you're broke. You're broke, right? Then he spoke of the bridges.
Just go back to a couple of bridges. The Marquee Bridge, and that is the bridge before what people call the Bumpy Corner, in case you don't know the area that I'm speaking about, on the way to Grenville. That is a bridge that if you drive by, you would see it's beginning to fail. And so the designs for the bridge have been completed internally. They have been reviewed, and we are going to tender, meaning bids. We are going to invite bids from contractors to bid to construct the bridge. In the meantime, we have procured a temporary bypass, because that bridge is the main bridge. And if you can't go past the bridge, it will cause enormous disruption to traffic on the Eastern Main Road. So a 2-lane temporary bypass bridge has been procured, and it will be installed soon. And we must do so before construction of the bridge happens, because, as I said, there are very little alternative routes to get through to Marquee. We're expecting that by the start of the second quarter of 2026 that this will take place. We do have to relocate one person because of where the temporary bypass bridge is going to have to be located, and we're having discussions with the impacted person so that we can have them relocated so we can put the temporary bridge. Monfendu, Mountrich are two other bridges that we intend to address in St. Patrick. In the case of Monfendu, the design has been prepared by Beston Consulting, and we are reviewing the designs right now, and the next stage will be to go to tendering and to selection of a contractor. And again, we are aiming to be able to have this completed by the first quarter of 2026, so that come April we can start it. It's important though that to highlight, especially in St. Patrick, that we have to carefully plan the actual construction work because of the diversions and accessibility issues. So in the case of Monfendu, we could only construct this after the Mades Bridge is completed because they are the alternative routes to each other. The challenge though is that the Monfendu Bridge is actually, from our observation, in even worse condition than the Mades Bridge. So both of them are critical to access in Sotez, and so this is something we have to monitor. In the case of Mountrich, the design has already been prepared by Mr. William Batista Cruz, and we will also be engaging in the tender process soon, and we believe this should end in the first quarter of 2026. Now, again, Mountrich is on the same leg of the road as Snell Hall. We talked earlier about Snell Hall, so we are hoping for the Snell Hall construction to be significantly advanced before we start Mount Rich. Because again, if we start both of them at the same time, the diversions become an issue and traffic will be a nightmare. So most of these...
What can I say? The bridges are supposed to start at the end of April. No, the beginning of April, the beginning of the second quarter, one at the end, at the end of April. Papi show. Police stations.
Briefly, on police stations, the St. David's Police Station, the designs and the bills of quantities have been developed to rehabilitate the building, and we expect construction to start as well in the first quarter of this year. And the relocation of the St. David's Magistrates Court, the existing police station, the district revenue office, all of this will be relocated to the existing fire station building at the back, which was renovated a couple of years ago. The Grenville Police Station, as you're aware, we have relocated the Grenville Police Station. We will be demolishing the building soon, and then designs for a new building will commence. At this stage, we are in discussion as to whether or not it makes sense to have the Grenville Police Station rebuilt on the existing site, or whether we relocate to a brand new site, given that it's on a water table and how close the sea is and the challenges with the seawater and the salt. Victoria Police Station, work is ongoing at what is called the Victoria Hotel building. Work should be completed by the end of March, and we expect the police to be able to move into that building shortly thereafter. The Union Police Station, work will commence to renovate this as well in the first quarter of 2026, as the entire roof needs to be replaced. Briefly,
everything was supposed to take place in the first quarter of 2026. I'm still over to the second quarter of the first quarter of 2026, my friends, is January, February, and March. Nothing so. It has not happened, right? But as I say, it was stalled. They couldn't do it. They didn't have the money to do it. They're running out of time. So they decide to credit it. That's where the scheme come up with the finance, design, build, and maintain. It's a scheme, right? Because they don't have the money. So they have to credit all these things. And so things that should have been done over the 3.5-year period, we all trying to get it done in 6 months, right? And it can't be. January to June 2026. We're in June. And most of it, if not almost all of it, I can safely say, has not been done. Some of them have not been touched. Most of them have not been touched, right? The St. David's Police Station, the building in the back that he said was renovated in a couple of years. A couple is 2. That building was renovated by the former administration. So it cannot be a couple of years, right? And that's where the fire station's supposed to go. What you need to do is to put a fire truck in St. David's. When there's a fire in St. David's, almost always it burned down to the ground, because the fire truck have to come from either St. George's or from St. Andrew, from Grenville. Almost always burn flat down before the fire truck get to St. David's. Let's move on to the schools.
Work is ongoing on the Tivoli RC School, the Calise Government School, and the St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School as we speak. In addition, the St. David's Catholic Secondary School in Malmont. And these are substantial and substantive projects that are taking place currently. And work has just commenced also on the Florida Government School. The contractor for Florida Government School is Kenny's Construction and Kenny's Trucking and Equipment Services.
Same thing, same old talk, same thing. Nice talk, same thing. Ongoing, that St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School in Grenville, that's been ongoing forever. Nothing. It's been ongoing. When they talk about ongoing, nothing was done. When we spoke about it here, they run and they excavate. Then bush grow back. I think now they make another try at it again. But it's just crazy. And it's important to note that those contracts given to those foreign companies are sole sourcing, no bidding, which is a violation of the Public Finance Management Act. And that's all this administration do. They violate our own laws. Some of the laws they themselves amended, and after they violate it. right? This Public Finance Management Act, it was passed in 2016 under the supervision of the World Bank. Willis, Mabuya, given to Renault. We yet, as I said, to find out the cost of the contract, and we need to know how much we're paying for the Mabuya project. We're asking one more time for transparency and accountability. This government, and the Prime Minister said, this government is the most transparent government that Grenada has ever seen. I mean, not even your own people would believe that. Not even your own people would believe that. He said in Canada that this government has built the most houses since independence in Grenada. But don't panic. We're going to get a nice story, a full episode on the Canada trip. Yeah, full episode. Let's move on. And we're going to move on to the Nigerians. Now, when I spoke about the landing of the Nigerians in the last episode, it had nothing to do with the color of their skin. It had nothing to do with motherland and black and white. So it take a different turn on Facebook. And everybody talking about the motherland and how we own people, we want it bad. And if it was white people and the color of his skin, and who don't want what? If we don't want to see our reflection. I mean, and it was just crazy because oh, it didn't matter to me the color of their skin. Is what is not who it was, it's what happened, right? And what we as Grenadians should be advocating against, right? So don't tell me about motherland when those of you talking about motherland, most of you has never been to motherland. And the same colonialists that you all speak of, and the white people, that's where you all go and sit down when time comes. If it's migration, you migrate to the white people country. And if it's to go and study, you go and study and in the white people country. And if you're going on vacation, you go on vacation in the white people country. So this thing that you all think black people can be racist, you guys are racist. I have nothing against white people. I don't have anything personal against the Nigerians. And the Nigerians couldn't come here and just whisk themselves away from the tarmac. Our authorities allowed it. So when I speak about a plane load of Nigerians from Taraba State that landed here at Maurice Bishop International Airport on Saturday, the 23rd of May, 2026, with, according to Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, in excess of 220 Nigerians from Taraba State. Now, we don't know how much is the excess, because in excess, I was told, coming out of Nigeria, that it could well be 207, about 270. But we don't need to know, we don't need to know the excess, because it's maybe the excess that remain on island. Maybe it's the excess that remain and they house, well, some in Lansipine, I don't know where the others are. Why the visit? Let's say, why the visit? Now, according to Governor Kifas, Agubu Kifas, and I'm going to read it again because you know these things are important. And then some of you can see where I'm going with it, right? Governor Agubu Kifas of Taraba State, Nigeria, is sending a cultural delegation to Grenada as part of a reciprocal cultural and development ties established during Grenada's Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell visit to the state. So are we reciprocating? Because we didn't send no dance troupe to Nigeria. No. This initiative stems from pledges made by PM Mitchell to strengthen cultural exchanges and economic partnerships between Grenada and Taraba State. Key details of the visit: delegation composition, cultural troops from Taraba State, likely numbering around 150. That's what we were told, that 150 is coming. 150 based on the scale of similar state cultural events hosted locally, which involve large groups of performers, artists, and support staff. Timing: scheduled for May 2026, aligning with ongoing efforts to deepen bilateral relations. Nothing about African Liberation Day. Nothing about African Liberation Day. You hear me? Right. Purpose: to showcase Taraba's rich cultural heritage through performances, exhibitions, and traditional displays, fostering tourism, mutual understanding, and developmental collaboration in key economic sectors. To showcase Taraba's rich cultural heritage through performances, exhibitions, and traditional displays, none of which happened. None of which happened, but that's what they were coming for. And I myself thought we were going to be able to go to a concert, to see them, to nothing so, right? Now, 150. We were told by Prime Minister in excess of 220. I was told from Nigeria, could be as much as 270, right? We shouldn't question. We shouldn't question that, because the plane load of in excess of 220 of them was whisked away from the tarmac at Morris Bishop International Airport to their various hotels. No transparency, no accountability. But there are those out there who has turned it into a black and white scenario, a black and white issue. And if it was the colonizers, the Africans, all bypass immigration and customs, luggage and all, right? But if it was the colonizers, when the colonizers came, what happened? They came off the aircraft. Meet and greet right there on MBIE. The royalties left. Of course, protocol took their passports and dealt with immigration for them. They were whisked away. And the ones that were not royalties stayed back and did the immigration and customs line, picked up the luggage, all their luggages, and went through the immigration and the customs line. They did. We must not say anything but a plane load of Nigerians. And we all know we could duck, we could do what we want. We all know what about Nigerians and their habits and what is going on there. We all know that Taraba State, states in Nigeria, they're known for rigging elections. You see this thing where they touch up the females here in Grenada? When I saw it, I screenshot the stuff, I sent it to my contact in Nigeria, and they said, oh, that's normal. That's normal behavior. So when some of you are trying to deny it, it's normal. And the Nigerians are practically laughing at us in Grenada here and saying, all you know what y'all getting into. That is the good ones, right? Yeah. So we must not ask how many came. We don't know how many came. And we would never know how many came, right? Because they all, no matter who it was. I am not saying if there were royalties on that aircraft, they should not have get royalty treatment. I'm fine with that. But all 220 plus of them were royalties. And we know they came with their slaves. Yes, we call them slaves because that's what they have them doing, slaving, stand up fanning them, brushing away flies, kissing their feet, and all of that. They came with their, what they say, their maids. But the slavery continues among Black people, yes. So we could duck and we could hide and we could talk about color of skin and motherland. They too was royalty. All of them went in the aircraft. Why? Why their luggage didn't come through the airport? I saw you pictures of the aircraft. I even have a video I can show you of the plane landing in the dust. Right? We don't know what they came with. They are crooked people, and we could hide how much we want. Everywhere else in the world, people are skeptical about the Nigerians. We don't know. And then they left on the 27th, on Wednesday morning, the 27th at 2 a.m. in the morning, when there's nothing, the airport is closed. So special people had to come out, I guess, depending on where, to work. So they left like thieves in the night. Didn't happen with the colonizers, no, did it? So what y'all talking about? About colonizers and who what? Some of you people are married to colonizers. Yeah. So what is the hype? Did I ever say that white people should get better treatment and Black people shouldn't get the treatment? I don't have nothing to do with that. I love them all. Because I don't believe in going after white people, colonizers or whatever. I don't believe in it either. Same how these people, their ancestors might have done it. They didn't do it. They didn't do, and who sold the slaves to them? Africans took Africans down to the beach, and sold them for rum and trinkets to the white people. We sold our own people, and right now, as we speak, slavery continues in Africa. So there's history. So this racism towards white people. And if it was white people, no, if it was a plain load of white people, I would have been questioning the same way. When you migrated to the white people country. You go to school to the white people country. When you go on vacation to the white people country. But then you're still talking about motherland. Go to the motherland. Go and live in the motherland. Migrate to the motherland. And when you retire to the motherland. If the motherland is so important to you. The Nigerians from Taraba State who own Grenadian passports. What criteria was used for such? How did they become citizens of Grenada? Did they purchase the passports through the CBI program? Or were they given the passport through friendship. The friendship of the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, and Agubu Kifas, the governor of Taraba State. You know, the Prime Minister, he loved there. He went there the other day. He take an extra day. Who loved Taraba State? Everybody running from Taraba State. Now, added to that, recently, according to a news release in Taraba State, headline, Grenada offers visa-free access to Nigerians. Seek stronger investment ties. The article published in the Nation newspaper. And this is how, as a people, that's how we learned that Nigerians can come to Grenada visa-free, have visa-free access to Grenada. I would put those articles up on my page so you can, on my channel, so you can read them for yourselves. We have heard nothing from the Prime Minister and his cabinet about that. We have heard nothing from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about the visa-free access. As a matter of fact, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Taraba State, after the article was published, they too had heard nothing about it. There's no official, they had no official documents, no official reports from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs there as well. So this is a friending between Deacon Mitchell and Kifas. Agubu Kifas. But let me share with you what's going on in Nigeria.
Hi guys, by now you must have heard that the sister of our former Minister of Power was kidnapped. She was kidnapped with her 2 sons, twins. That happened on Wednesday. And by Saturday, guess what happened? The Nigerian police organized a rescue mission. They went in there. It was like a movie. They released the video of how they went into the kidnappers' den. They didn't pay ransom. They went there and they rescued them. They rescued this woman, the minister's sister, and her 2 sons. They rescued them. They uploaded the video online for us to see, the tactical team and stuff like that. I'm so happy for that family that the woman is okay and her 2 sons. At the same time, this is just another evidence for Nigerians to know that if you are not influential, if you are not related to a politician, you do not matter to the Nigerian government. Because this happened in the same Oyo state where 39 students were kidnapped. It's been more than 3 weeks now, as well as 7 teachers, one of them beheaded. In the same state, the Nigerian government has not been able to organize a rescue mission to rescue those people. In fact, the governor of Oyo State was telling us that the drone that they will use to survey the bush around that area will not be ready until the end of this month, June. This thing happened since May. People are like, so you can do this? When the Nigerian police uploaded that video. Although I should point out that when they were shooting, I noticed one of the gunshots, when they shot that guy that climbed the ceiling, it was like they were shooting shakabula, like old guns, old pistols, I don't know. We definitely need more weapons for our police force and of course for our military. But it's just so heartbreaking to see that when it comes to the children of regular people, we are debating whether or not we will pay ransom. They're not even talking about rescue mission. Now, I should say that for a lot of Nigerians, they think that these are just isolated cases. No, this thing is bigger than you understand. This is happening all over the country. In Borno State, you know that these terrorists, they attacked a military barrack in Mandaragirao. They killed soldiers. They beheaded our soldiers inside a military barrack this past weekend. It's gotten that bad that the terrorists can go into a military barrack and be beheading soldiers. So this thing is bigger than you think. In the same Borno State, they kidnapped some children a couple of weeks ago. Little kids are amongst them. You know, Punch newspaper did a story. They said that 30 kings in Kwara State have fled their palaces.
39 kids from a school missing. They're in the bushes. And as young as 2-year-olds, my friends, as young as 2-year-olds were kidnapped. So we have opened up our doors and our borders to the land of terrorists, crooks, criminals, and conmen, notorious bandits. And if you have you can't screen nobody. So free for all. Come on, come on. As the Minister for Tourism has said, everybody could come. Everybody have red blood or something. So he said, come on, come on. Come on down to Grenada. Right? In Taraba State, they slaughter Christians by the hundreds daily. Christians. These are the friends of our Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. His role models. The ones he are patterning his life after. You notice? They're up there and we down here. Hungry mouth and beggy. And he models in and models out. The Nigerians are saying enough is enough of the terrorist acts, the kidnapping, the slaughtering of their own people. Here is another clip of what's taking place in Nigeria.
Today, this is the legacy that President Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu is leaving for Nigeria's 3 years down the line of sorrow, tears, and blood. But to call Tinubu as a leader a failure will be an insult to failures. It will be a disservice to failures because this is a kind of failure that other failures look up to and aspire to gain this kind of milestones. Remember that in 2025 June, Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited St. Lucia, a country in the Caribbean islands, and gave students scholarship in a foreign land. Meanwhile, in his home country, children are not even begging for scholarship. Nigerian children are only begging for an opportunity to wake up in the morning, dress up, go to school, and come back without ending up with terrorists in the forest. Today, as we are speaking, under the Tinubu administration, in 2024, Nigeria was the 6th most terrorized nation in the world. By 2025, we became the 5th most terrorized. Anti-Root, in 2026, we are the 4th most terrorized nation in the world. But you know why our situation is peculiar? The government and the military of the 4th most terrorized nation in the world has a policy that is called Operation Safe Corridor. Under that policy, government gets terrorists that have killed children, mothers, fathers, including military officers, organizes a ceremony for them, gives them a shoebi to wear, and say they have sworn to a holy book and they have now been repented. So the government commits taxpayer money to rehabilitate non-terrorists, while the victims of their mayhem and their anguish are still in internally displaced persons camp and some with the terrorists in the bush. Nigeria has more than 18 million out of school children. Today, schools are still shutting down because we have made a multinational enterprise out of insecurity. And it will not end for as long as government seems to be complicit in what is going on. Let me make it clear, that every government is more powerful than whatever criminals or criminal gang that operates around its territory. Whenever you see a government that seems to be helpless in the face of criminality, one thing is sure: such governments are complicit in the criminality. Once you are able as a government to detach yourself from the criminal network and you go forcefully against the criminals, you will not only crush them, you will protect your people. Nigeria is going around in a circle because we are yet to figure out the political wing of terrorism terrorism and insecurity. If we fail to end that political wing, the one in the bush will only continue to fester. I have stated it maybe even on this program, on this network. A governor who is an APC governor in Kebbi State came out in the open and made a statement. He said before there was an attack on the government girls secondary school in Maga in Kebbi State, we had intelligence. We deployed law enforcement, including military.
And we are asking our government to protect its people. 12 Africans, Nigerians, came in a few days ago with Grenadian passports. We don't know if they're terrorists. We don't know who they are. They don't need a visa. They don't need to apply. They can just buy their tickets and come down. With visa-free access to Grenada. So we're giving free access to terrorists and all. Who's to stop them? Sharika Gummy is banned from entering Saudi Arabia. They canceled Sharika Gummy's visa and deported him back to Nigeria. Sharika Gummies is a prominent Muslim acting as a self-appointed middleman, has engaged as a diverse figure in the kidnap for ransom crisis plaguing northern Nigeria, which has seen more than 800 students seized in recent months. Will this person be allowed to enter Grenada visa-free? Grenadians, I beg of you, go do your own research on Nigeria, zeroing on Taraba State. We are open up, they're just talking about investment and Papa, we know, we do know. We could pretend, as I say, as much as we want, but we do know what takes place in Nigeria. Nigerian investors, entrepreneurs, and businesses are being presented with new opportunities to expand their footprint beyond Africa as Grenada emerges as one of the Caribbean's most attractive destinations for investment, trade, tourism, and business development. Addressing journalists in Lagos after a recent working visit to Grenada, the Honorary Consul of Grenada in Nigeria, H.E. Bidem Sonoki, highlighted the country's growing appeal as an investment destination for Nigerians and outlined fresh opportunities across aviation, tourism, real estate, healthcare, education, agriculture, logistics, and financial services. According to Sonoki, the growing relationship between Nigeria and Grenada is creating a unique platform for Nigerian investors seeking international expansion, market diversification, and access to new growth opportunities across the Caribbean. He noted that the relationship has evolved significantly in recent years, moving beyond historical and cultural ties to become a strategic partnership centered on investment, commerce, innovation, education, and sustainable economic development. Today, Grenada presents a compelling opportunity for Nigerian investors and entrepreneurs looking to access new markets beyond Africa. We are witnessing the emergence of a strategic economic corridor between Africa and the Caribbean, one that offers immense opportunities for trade, investment, tourism, education, and business growth, he said. we can stop here, folks. I got a letter from a business man, right? This showed up in his, DM, I don't know where, but it came to his business phone. Good morning, sir, madam. My name is Prince Yemi, a Nigerian national, currently residing in Cairo, Egypt, where I work as a trade and recruitment consultant. I am reaching out to explore potential collaboration opportunities with reputable recruiters and employers in your country. Well, of course, we open up free, so wherever a Nigerian is in the world, they come in, right? I have a network of qualified and motivated candidates who are willing to relocate internationally for legitimate employment opportunities. I would greatly appreciate it if you would connect me with trusted recruitment agencies, employers, or organizations that are actively seeking foreign workers. My goal is to establish a professional partnership that will enable suitable candidates to secure genuine employment while contributing positively to your workforce needs. Now, you know the ones that just call your phone or go in your inbox and tell you win this or whatever, and let's be genuine, Let's be genuine. The ones that is catfish people, and yeah, if you talk to them for a while, they're genuine, they fall in love with you, they say they're going to be sending you stuff, and yeah, they're genuine. The fisherman never say fish rotten. No, right? So, the African continent has 54 countries, right? Out of the 54 countries, only 18 of those allow Nigerians into their country without a visa. Their own people. So, what? 36 of the countries, Nigerians must have a visa to enter. Their own countries from their own continent, they're afraid of them. Here's another video.
Well, good morning to you, viewers, from across the globe. Today is Wednesday, June 3rd. Nationwide protests erupt across Nigeria for the kidnapped students and staff of Orile. Governor Seyi Makinde addresses protesters in Ibadan, calling for unity and patience. And the world of music is in mourning. Legendary R&B icon P.B. Bryson, the voice behind Beauty and the Beast and A Whole New World, has died at 75. Let's dive right in. I am Oji Okwe, and this is what's trending. Now, before we dive deeper, let's see what you're talking about right now. We've been tracking your conversations on X, Facebook, our YouTube live feed, and of course, Leke Leke. And 3 stories are dominating your timelines this morning. At number 1, the General Overseer of Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Adeboye, issues a clear ultimatum to Nigeria's security chiefs to fix insecurity in 90 days or resign. At number 2, INEC launches an investigation into the alleged unauthorized access to its voter registration database after Wike's aide Larry Olayinka posted screenshots of Nollywood actor Emeka Ike's private voter details online. And at number 3, female APC supporters are going viral for singing praises to the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, using the president's own campaign song, "On Your Mandate, We Shall Stand." Now, here is where you come in. Join the conversations. Use the hashtag What's Trending with Ojiokwe. Comment on our live feed. And of course, Leke, tell me, which of these stories matters most to you? Because for the next half hour, we're going into everything that has Nigeria and the rest of the world buzzing. But first, nationwide protest swept Nigeria from Bayelsa to Lagos as teachers, students, and concerned Nigerians marched in solidarity for the kidnapped students and staff of Orile in Oyo State. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has also weighed in. Let's take a look.
It has become a business, and that is why it is not ending anytime soon.
Nigerians has taken to the street to protest terrorism. Terrorism is everywhere in Nigeria. You heard one of the broadcasters. Terrorists hold Nigerians' passports. They're carrying Nigerian passports. So if you're a Nigerian, you can come to Grenada visa-free, right? Children are in the streets protesting, demanding the safe return of 39 children and 7 adults recently kidnapped by bandits and are still missing. Hundreds of Nigerians in Toronto, Canada, on Saturday, the 6th June, took to the streets to protest. They too asking for the return of the school children and their teachers that was abducted in a peaceful rally aimed to amplify awareness of Nigeria's escalating security crisis and demanding immediate action from both the Nigeria authorities and international authorities. I hope our authorities are paying attention and rethinking this visa-free entry to Grenada for Nigerians. We are begging, please, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and your cabinet, please think of the security risk that we are exposed to or will be exposed to. As I continue to show you clips of the protesters.
We are calling on you now. This is not the time to promise us. This is not the time to promise Nigerians. Nigerians are tired. I am a Nigerian Canadian God must help. God, we accept our thank in the mighty name of Jesus. What we are here for, to protect, to bring all our children that is already in the captivity of Fulani. We are praying, God, that you set them freedom in the mighty name of Jesus. All the bandits that we are praying that God should freedom our children in the mighty name of Jesus.
Can I speak to you? Okay. So why have you decided to do this? And I see these young kids that are supposed to be in school. This is a form of protest. Tell me why you're doing this.
Because I'm scared of taking my children to school.
Why is that so?
Because of what is happening. Children from different, I don't even know what to even say, but I'm just scared of taking my children to school. It's not safe.
And how long do you intend to do this?
For as long as I can.
What is the message and who is this message directed to?
The president should attend to those children that they kidnapped.
Thank you very much.
We do not want our little rock, 120,000 strong, to become like this, to be taken over by Nigerians, notorious bandits, by terrorists, where you have to be afraid to send your kids to school. You've heard the lady there. We just can't afford it. We cannot afford it. So we ask again that the Prime Minister, we are governed by a narcissist, no empathy. This guy has no empathy. We have no transparency and accountability. It's all about him. He bullies his cabinet members and anyone who crosses him. He bullies them. They sit in the cabinet, and that's the second cabinet. They're just there like rubber stamps, right? They just be told things on a need-to-know basis just as well, right? Yeah. And a bunch of incompetence and arrogance that we get. And this is what it is, and this is what it is. I have the power to do that, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't have to obey the laws of the land. And these are the guys that the Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell gave a $2,000 raise in salary with nothing to show for it. Just a few weeks after taking office. Then 6 months later, they got another raise of $5,000. Added to that, if you're an MP, you get another $10,000 constituency allowance. And then in 2025, the estimates of revenues and expenditure. There were allocations for MPs for a vehicle. They called it strengthening parliamentary representation. Strengthening parliamentary representation. Mr. Speaker, our government remains committed to strengthening parliamentary representation and ensuring that all members of parliament are equipped to serve their constituents effectively. The goal is to provide adequate resources over time, including establishment of state-owned parliamentary offices in each constituency, providing a permanent and accessible space for constituents to engage with their elected representative. To this end, in 2025, each constituency, as far as practical, will be outfitted with a suitable vehicle to facilitate greater mobility and outreach, ensuring that the needs of every community are met with efficiency and care. Efforts will be made to secure hybrids and electricity vehicles consistent with government policy of greening the transport sector. As you might know, the vehicles were delivered in the 2026 budget, and the opposition refused to accept theirs. And that was because the condition of where we are today with high inflation, high bills, electricity, water, all taxed, and more taxed, and climbing. And so they didn't think it was necessary for parliamentarians to be given vehicles when they all have vehicles. And these vehicles today are used to sell salt fish, to do personal things for their party. They're used as party vehicles and not as parliamentarian vehicles. They're used for NDC purposes, for NDC work, and not for constituency work. Now, this is the reason given by the Prime Minister for buffering his parliamentarians, his cabinet, for increasing their salaries.
The salaries, in my view, are woefully inadequate. And what that means is that you almost create a situation where people are vulnerable, and therefore you find a situation where the corruption and so on can happen easily. Because if you're going to give persons a very demanding job to do, and there's no doubt that being a government minister or an MP is a demanding job, and then the state provides little or no or very inadequate resources to allow them to do that job, then you're almost facilitating the process where people are going to be weak, be vulnerable, and they find themselves making decisions that they should not do. However, if you create an environment where persons are paid well, they're given the resources, then you certainly would be minimizing the risk of corruption. And if it does happen, then there certainly should be dire consequences for them, because they would have no excuses.
Speaking
dire consequences. The Prime Minister, and I'm paraphrasing here, is saying really that if your salary is measly, then they'll be tempted to touch, right? And so he raised their salary so they wouldn't be tempted to touch. But if they're tempted to touch and they touch, then there'll be dire consequences. We await the dire consequences, sir, because there are a lot of touching taking place. And so what are you doing about it? But the real reason for the salary increases is for manipulation. These guys, as I said, are being bullied. They sit there, they watch the Prime Minister do everything in St. David, and once upon a time in the South, right? And nothing elsewhere. And they complain and they moan and they groan and they speak out about it. Behind closed doors, not to him and not in his face. But they sit there because the money is good. And some of them even say it. They need the money. So they sit there, they take the bullying because they're getting a good salary. But with the raise, they still doing all the little hanky pankies. The cookie jars getting touched. and all of the little fraudulent thing and oh yeah, everybody have wealth. The minister for Karakwam Maniga, he said it don't matter, you know, win, lose, or draw. He said for life, and he's correct. Not just him, at least he spoke it out. Maybe conscience, but he spoke it out. I am almost certain that almost every one of them in that cabinet can say the same. They can say the same. And so they continue to be abused and mistreated, maligned and silenced. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is minister of everything. He can't run none of his ministries. They have all failed and continue to fail, keep failing. But he's Minister of Health, he's Minister of Agriculture, he's Minister of Youth and Sports, he's Minister of Education. They must sit down and shut up. He turned around and he called them hungry mouth and beggy.
If you're hungry mouth, if you beggy, you could come and be parliamentarian. All kind of people come by you because they know you're hungry mouth. So you see, Mr. Speaker, you're a doctor, you're a professional. That's the point. Because you and I are professionals, we can serve and people can't buy us.
Hungry mouth and beggy. Said him and the speaker, people can buy them because they're professionals. The rest of them, they can be bought. Now, this Deacon Mitchell-led administration has desecrated and degraded all our institutions, entities, statutory bodies, and ministerial departments. The Prime Minister has dismantled the FIU division on entering office. Masterful. But are you surprised with the amount of corruption, financial corruption, that is taking place in our statutory bodies, our institutions, our entities, right inside our cabinet, with him turning a blind eye? It's called aiding and abetting. Or should I say, the upholder is worse than the thief. In a letter addressed to the FIU and the Commissioner of Police, the same letter that I sent to them, both just changed the name and address, of course, dated the 7th of July 2025, hand-delivered to both offices. I wrote both institutions as a concerned citizen, taking the advice of the Prime Minister and the Minister for National Security, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. When asked the question about corruption, and so this is what he had to say.
You may or may have heard of allegations of bribery against your Minister of MIT.
Bribery is a criminal act, and that's true. But someone is making an allegation. I'm sure the IGP at the step, I'm sure the FRE is dead, I'm sure the indictment's function is dead.
Here is my letter to, and I'm going to read the one to the FIU. Mr. Brendan Latouche, head of the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU Carnage, St. George's, but they were then already in Grannans in the Cap Bank building. So that's where I hand delivered it. Dear Mr. Latouche, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to formally request an investigation into the actions of Minister and Member for Parliament, Andy Williams, in accordance with Section 6 of the Financial Intelligence Unit's mandate. There are serious allegations that Minister Andy Williams has accepted a bribe totaling EC $115,000 from Gain Limited in exchange for the Cliff Road project contract. Moreover, Mr. Williams has received several loans from the Grenada Development Bank, which goes against the act of the bank, and an EC $3 million loan, no, the $300,000 loan from the COVID Economic Support Medium and Small Micro Enterprise Program, and other loans from the Grenada Development Bank GDB, amounting to over 4 million EC dollars. This contravenes the Grenada Development Bank Act. Additionally, Minister Andy Williams is reported to have issued several bounce checks, which raise significant concerns regarding financial misconduct. These actions appear to contravene Section 97 and 83 of the Criminal Code and the Proceeds of Crime Act, respectively. The above collectively provokes action consistent to Section 33(2), subsection C of the Grenada Constitution, Order 1973. Also, subsection 3 of this section, Section 31, subsection 1 to 4. Given the severity of these allegations, it is imperative that the Financial Intelligence Unit FIU conducts a thorough investigation to ensure adherence to our financial and legal framework and to maintain public confidence in our government institution. As a podcaster, I receive information from members of the public and the various other sources. I rely on credibility of the information to bring news to my podcast. Although I am confident of the factual nature of the news, as an ordinary citizen, I lack the required and investigative power to fully examine the details of these occurrences. It is against this background that I appeal to your organization to utilize your legal status, your power and authority to further investigate these matters in the interest of the public. Take this public call for you to do the following full investigations. 1, the circumstances surrounding the granting of the loans from the GDB to Minister Andy Williams. The circumstances surrounding the sale of Andy Williams' property in Mount Parnassus in St. George's to Gain Limited. 3, identify the beneficial owner of Gain Limited. 4, the circumstances surrounding the repairs to Minister Andy Williams' vehicle, a white Isuzu pickup truck T4254. 5, all circumstances surrounding the granting of the road contract for the Cliff Road and the True Blue Road projects. 6, all circumstances surrounding the Carmix operating on the Cliff and the True Blue Road projects with regards to insurance and the legality of being on the road. If you require any further information, clarification regarding any of these matters, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I gave him my number or my email. Thank you for your attention to these urgent issues. Sincerely, Jennifer Simon Rapier, Concerned Citizens. Now, this said letter I sent to the Commissioner of Police. The FIU and Mr. Brendan Latouche or no other officer from the FIU has ever contacted me, not even to say they received my letter. At least the commissioner did acknowledge receipt. Then they did ask me for further information, which I gave to them. And I might have mentioned here on this program that I took him, that's the commissioner, to the front door, right to the front door. He asked for further information and I gave it to him. And I've never heard from him again. Never heard of him again. But we know that we have politically exposed commissioner of police. It's sad, but that's how it is. The acting commissioner, politically exposed. And it's really, 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 really sad. And of course, the FIU, the head of the FIU, Mr. Latouche, is a friend and colleague of the Prime Minister as well. And so he too is politically exposed. And although the Prime Minister said that the FIU is there and the Integrity Commission is there and the Commission of Police is there, I took it to them. I took it to them. And absolutely nothing happened. And this is where we are today, my people. This is the Grenada we are living in. The lottery, look. After, the lottery went broke a couple of times, but because they have all these games and the Grenadians are gambling more than ever before, they could keep themselves afloat every now and again. They would come back up. But they've gotten and they've hit rock bottom a few times in recent times. The gentleman was allowed to do what he wants, take what he wants, spend what he wants, go honeymooning in Paris, said he going to a one-day meeting, spend 2 weeks, all on the lottery money, go to the US, have a good time with his girlfriend, spend $40,000 easy, 38, 36, just spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then he resigned as chairman of the board. And that's it. We heard nothing about it anymore. We have a worse off state, similar, going on in gravel and concrete. And we have no money to build roads. We thought we have to credit our roads. And as I said before, if we can't pay some, can we pay lump sum? Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. And remember, a better Grenada is possible. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.